The silent preparation captain, Elena Vasquez, stared at the encrypted data stream flowing across her terminal deep within Earth's most classified facility. The underground command center, buried 3 kilometers beneath the Swiss Alps, hummed with quiet activity as dozens of analysts worked through intercepted alien communications. What Elena had discovered 3 hours ago would change everything. The message was clear, even through the complex hegemony encryption. Operation Pacification was real, and Earth had 6 months before the galaxy's most powerful alliance would move to neutralize the human threat permanently. Elena's hands trembled slightly as she read the details. The hegemony had been watching humanity for decades, cataloging their rapid technological advancement, their unpredictable nature, and their dangerous tendency to unite when threatened. Commander Marcus Chon entered the secure chamber, his expression grim. At 42, Marcus had spent half his life preparing for conflicts that most humans couldn't imagine. His dark eyes met Elena's, and she could see he already knew what she was about to tell him. "They're not planning to invade us, Marcus," Elena said quietly. "They're planning to sterilize us." Marcus nodded slowly. He had suspected as much from the preliminary intelligence reports. The hegemony didn't take chances with species they couldn't control. Their history was littered with civilizations that had been pacified into extinction. "How long do we have?" Marcus asked, moving to the holographic display that showed the current positions of known hegemony fleets. 6 months until they begin positioning their forces. Maybe 7 before they actually strike, Elena replied, calling up additional files. "But Marcus, there's something else. They think we don't know about their faster-than-light communication networks. They think we're still limited to traditional radio transmissions." A slight smile crossed Marcus's face. Humanity's greatest advantage had always been their ability to let others underestimate them. While the hegemony had been cataloging human military capabilities, they had completely missed humanity's most significant breakthrough. The ghost drive technology, developed in secret over the past 5 years, didn't just allow faster-than-light travel. It made ships effectively invisible to most alien detection systems. Elena pulled up another screen showing the current status of Earth's hidden fleet. 37 vessels, each equipped with ghost drive technology, were scattered across the outer solar system. To any observer, they would appear to be mining operations or research stations. In reality, they were humanity's first line of defense, and soon their first strike capability. "We need to contact Ambassador Kim," Marcus said, studying the tactical displays. "If we're going to do this, we need to maintain the illusion that we're still playing their diplomatic game." Ambassador Sarah Kim had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 3 years. A brilliant diplomat with a gift for reading alien psychology. Sarah had been feeding intelligence back to Earth while maintaining the facade of naive human optimism. The aliens saw her as proof that humans were simple, trusting creatures who could be easily manipulated. They had no idea that every diplomatic dinner, every cultural exchange, every friendly conversation was being carefully analyzed and cataloged by Earth's intelligence services. The communication to Sarah was sent through quantum entanglement, a technology the hegemony believed humans were still decades away from developing. Her response came back within minutes. Hegemony Defense Minister Korth mentioned unusual fleet movements during yesterday's reception. Sarah's message read, "He seemed pleased about something." Also, Director Zand from their intelligence service has been asking pointed questions about Earth's industrial capacity. They're definitely accelerating their timeline. Elena and Marcus exchanged glances. If the hegemony was moving faster than expected, humanity would need to act even sooner than planned. "Initiate Phase 1, Marcus commanded, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's survival. Across the command center, officers began executing orders that had been rehearsed countless times but never implemented. Every human ship, station, An outpost in the solar system received coded messages disguised as routine maintenance schedules. Phase 1 was deceptively simple. Every piece of human technology that could be monitored by alien sensors would continue operating normally. Trade ships would maintain their schedules. Mining operations would continue extracting resources. Research stations would keep broadcasting their scientific findings. To outside observers, humanity would appear completely unaware of the approaching threat. Meanwhile, Ghost Drive-equipped vessels began moving to predetermined positions throughout the galaxy. They traveled through hyperspace corridors that alien sensors couldn't detect, using navigation data that Sarah had been quietly gathering during her diplomatic missions. Each ship knew its target, its mission parameters, and its escape routes. Captain Lisa Rodriguez commanded the U's Phantom, one of the most advanced Ghost Drive vessels in the fleet. Her mission was simple in concept, but incredibly dangerous in execution. She would position her ship within striking distance of the hegemony's primary communication relay in the Andromeda sector. When the time came, that relay would be the first to fall, cutting off communication between Hegemony Command and their outer fleets. Lieutenant David Park, her communications officer, monitored alien chatter from his station. Captain, we're picking up increased military communications from Hegemony Command. They're definitely planning something big. Lisa nodded, her attention focused on the tactical display, showing her ship's position relative to the alien relay station. The Ghost Drive technology made her vessel effectively invisible, but it also meant they were completely on their own. No backup, no support, no rescue if things went wrong. Back on Earth, Alina was coordinating with intelligence operatives across human space. Dr. Janet Thompson, head of the Lunar Research Station, had been monitoring Hegemony scientific exchanges for months. What she had discovered was almost as disturbing as the military preparations. They're not just planning to destroy our military, Janet reported during a secure briefing. They're planning to study us first. There are references to behavioral modification protocols and species integration parameters. They want to understand what makes humans so unpredictable before they eliminate the threat. Marcus felt a cold anger settle in his chest. The Hegemony didn't just see humans as a military threat. They saw them as a puzzle to be solved, a problem to be analyzed and then eliminated. The clinical nature of their planning was almost worse than simple hatred. How are our preparations coming along? Elena asked, bringing up status reports from across human space. Better than expected, Marcus replied. The Ghost Fleet is in position. Our intelligence network is functioning perfectly. Most importantly, the Hegemony still has no idea what we're capable of. Elena nodded, but her expression remained troubled. Marcus, what if we're wrong? What if we strike first and then discover we misunderstood their intentions? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, considering the question that had been haunting him for weeks. Starting a war based on intercepted communications was a massive gamble, but allowing the Hegemony to strike first would mean the end of human civilization. Elena, I've been studying their patterns for months. Every species they've pacified followed the same pattern. First diplomatic contact, then economic integration, then gradual political control, and finally military occupation. We're at stage 3 right now. If we wait for stage 4, there won't be a stage 5 for humanity. Elena understood the logic, but the weight of the decision was staggering. In a few days, humanity would launch the first coordinated attack in galactic history by a species that most aliens considered primitive. The outcome would determine whether humans became a major galactic power or a cautionary tale about the dangers of preemptive action. Sarah, Kim's latest intelligence report, provided the final piece of the puzzle. The Hegemony had begun moving their reserve fleets to staging areas near human space. More importantly, they had started broadcasting propaganda about the human threat to other species in the galaxy. They were preparing public opinion for humanity's destruction. That's it, Marcus said, reading Sarah's report. They're not planning a quick strike anymore. They're planning a public execution. They want to make an example of us. Elena initiated the final communication sequence. Across human space, 37 Ghost Drive vessels received the same message. Operation Sunrise begins in 72 hours. Good hunting. The die was cast. In 3 days, the galaxy would discover that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The hegemony expected negotiations, diplomatic protests, maybe even desperate military resistance. What they were about to receive was something no species in galactic history had ever attempted. A perfectly coordinated first strike that would cripple their ability to respond before they even knew they were under attack. Marcus looked at the countdown timer on his screen. 71 hours and 53 minutes until humanity revealed its true nature to the galaxy. The species that had been dismissed as primitive, emotional, and predictable was about to demonstrate the most sophisticated military operation in galactic history. The hegemony had made one critical error in their assessment of humanity. They had assumed that humans would react to threats the same way every other species did. They had never considered that humans might act first, think later, and deal with the consequences as they came. In 71 hours, that assumption would prove fatal. The lightning strike Admiral Korath of the Hegemony Third Fleet stood in his command center, reviewing the final preparations for Operation Pacification. The massive dreadnought Inevitable served as the flagship for the largest military operation in hegemony history. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of over 300 warships, all preparing to converge on human space. The operation was planned to be swift and decisive. Intelligence reports suggested that humans possessed approximately 40 military vessels, primitive by hegemony standards, but numerous enough to require overwhelming force. Korath had been given explicit orders: complete neutralization of human military capacity, followed by the pacification of their civilian population. Admiral, we're receiving routine communications from the human diplomatic mission, reported his communications officer. Ambassador Kim is requesting a meeting with the Council to discuss expanded trade agreements. Korath almost smiled. The humans were still trying to negotiate, even as his fleets moved into position. Their naivety would make the operation easier, but it also made him feel slightly uncomfortable. There was no honor in destroying an enemy who didn't even know they were about to be attacked. Director Zan entered the command center, his pale features drawn with concentration. As head of Hegemony Intelligence, Zan had been responsible for gathering information about human capabilities. His reports had been the basis for the entire operation. Admiral, I'm troubled by some irregularities in our sensor data, Zan said, approaching the tactical display. We've been tracking human vessel movements for months, but there are gaps in our coverage. Small ones, but consistent. Korath frowned. What kind of gaps? Ships that appear on our sensors and then vanish. We've attributed it to sensor malfunctions or natural phenomena, but the pattern is too regular. It's almost as if some human vessels can avoid our detection systems. The Admiral considered this information. Human technology was primitive by hegemony standards, but they had shown unexpected innovation in certain areas. Still, developing effective stealth technology required theoretical advances that humans shouldn't possess for decades. How many vessels are we talking about? Korath asked. That's the problem, Zan replied. We don't know. If they have stealth technology, our fleet counts could be completely wrong. At that moment, Captain Elena Vasquez was 3 light years away, coordinating the final phase of Operation Sunrise. The command ship Defiance served as the hub for humanity's first offensive operation. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, each officer knowing that the next few hours would determine humanity's fate. Ghost Fleet reports ready, announced Lieutenant Commander James Wright, Elena's tactical officer. All 37 vessels are in position and awaiting your command. Elena nodded, studying the holographic display that showed the positions of both human and hegemony forces. The aliens had positioned their fleets exactly where Earth's intelligence had predicted. They were following standard hegemony doctrine, which made them predictable despite their overwhelming numerical advantage. Commander Chun, are you ready? Elena asked, activating the secure communication link to Earth. Marcus's voice came through clearly despite the vast distance. All Earth-based assets are prepared. The moment you begin your attack, we'll start jamming their long-range communications. They won't be able to coordinate between fleets. Elena took a deep breath. In her 30-year military career, she had never imagined she would be giving the order to start a galactic war. But the intercepted hegemony communications left no doubt about their intentions. This was survival, not aggression. All Ghost Fleet vessels, this is control. Operation Sunrise is now active. Execute Phase 1. Across the galaxy, 37. Human ships simultaneously dropped out of hyperspace at their target locations. The hegemony had never seen anything like it. Their sensors detected the human vessels for perhaps 3 seconds before the attacks began. Captain Rodriguez's Phantom struck first, launching a salvo of quantum torpedoes at the Andromeda communication relay. The alien station's shields held for approximately 10 seconds before the advanced human weapons overwhelmed their defenses. A massive relay exploded in a brilliant flash of light, cutting communication between Hegemony Command and their outer fleets. Similar attacks were occurring simultaneously across Hegemony space. Supply depots, communication arrays, command centers, and strategic choke points were all targeted with surgical precision. The human ships would appear, destroy their targets, and vanish back into hyperspace before enemy forces could respond. Admiral Korath watched in horror as his tactical display began showing red warning icons across the galaxy. What's happening? He demanded. We're under attack, sir, his tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. Multiple simultaneous strikes across all sectors. Our communication networks are being systematically destroyed. By whom? Korath asked, though he already suspected the answer. The humans, sir. They're using some kind of stealth technology we've never seen before. Our sensors can barely track them. Director Zan approached the command display, his face pale with shock. This is impossible. Our intelligence reports showed that humans have no advanced military technology. They shouldn't be capable of coordinated attacks on this scale. Elena Vasquez would have smiled at that assessment if she could have heard it. The hegemony's greatest weakness was their arrogance. They had assumed that a species they considered primitive couldn't possibly outthink them. That assumption was now proving catastrophic. Phase 2 is commencing, Elena announced to her crew. All Ghost Fleet vessels begin targeting enemy command structures. The second wave of attacks was even more devastating than the first. Human ships appeared without warning at the heart of hegemony fleet formations, targeting command vessels and support ships. The alien fleets, already confused by the loss of their communication networks, found themselves unable to coordinate effective responses. Admiral Korath's flagship came under attack from 3 human vessels simultaneously. The inevitable was one of the most powerful ships in the hegemony fleet, but its weapons were designed for long-range engagement against visible targets. The human ships were too fast, too small, and too unpredictable. Return fire. Korath ordered, but his weapons officers were firing at shadows. The human ships would appear long enough to launch their attacks, then vanish before the hegemonies. Massive weapons could lock onto them. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet, the communications officer reported. Put it through, Korath commanded. Captain Elena Vasquez appeared on the main screen, her image clear despite the jamming that was affecting all other communications. Admiral Korath, I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force. You are ordered to withdraw all hegemony forces from human space immediately. Korath stared at her in disbelief. You're attacking us without provocation. This is an act of war. Elena's expression remained cold and professional. Admiral, we intercepted your Operation Pacification communications 3 months ago. We know about your plans to sterilize human civilization. What you're experiencing now is a proportional response to an existential threat. You're making a mistake, Korath said, trying to maintain his authority despite the chaos around him. The hegemony has resources you can't imagine. Even if you win this battle, you cannot win the war. Elena leaned forward slightly. Admiral, this isn't a battle. This is a demonstration. In the past 6 hours, we have neutralized 60% of your command infrastructure, destroyed your long-range communication networks, and eliminated your forward supply bases. We have done this with 37 ships against your fleet of over 300. Korath felt a chill run down his spine. The human was right. Despite their overwhelming numerical advantage, the hegemony forces were being systematically dismantled. What do you want? He asked. Simple, Elena replied. Complete withdrawal of all hegemony forces from human space. Formal recognition of human sovereignty. And a non-aggression pact that guarantees humanity will not be subject to any future pacification operations. Director Zan stepped forward. And if we refuse? Elena's smile was cold. Then Phase 3 begins, and we start targeting your home systems. Admiral, we have spent months studying your fleet dispositions, your supply lines, and your strategic weaknesses. We know exactly how to cripple your entire civilization if necessary. The threat was not an idle one. As Elena spoke, human intelligence operatives were monitoring hegemony communications across the galaxy. Ambassador Sarah Kim, still playing her role as a naive human diplomat, was gathering real-time intelligence about hegemony political reactions to the attacks. The Council is in complete panic, Sarah reported through secure channels. They're receiving reports of simultaneous attacks from dozens of sectors. Some Council members are calling for immediate capitulation. Others want to escalate to total war. Marcus Chun, monitoring the situation from Earth, made a tactical decision that would prove crucial. Elena, we need to give them a face-saving way out. If we humiliate them too completely, they'll have no choice but to escalate. Elena nodded, understanding the psychology involved. Admiral Korath, we're prepared to offer you a tactical withdrawal. You can tell your superiors that you conducted a successful reconnaissance mission and determined that the human threat requires a different approach. No one has to know how completely you were outmaneuvered. Korath was quiet for a long moment, considering his options. His fleet was scattered, his communications were down, and his supply lines were severed. The humans had achieved in 6 hours what should have taken months of careful planning and overwhelming force. I'll need to consult with my superiors, he finally said. You have 12 hours, Elena replied. After that, we begin Phase 3, and there will be no more negotiations. The transmission ended, leaving Korath staring at the tactical display. That showed the continuing destruction of hegemony assets across the galaxy. Director Zan approached him, his expression grim. Admiral, how did they do this? Our intelligence was completely wrong. Korath shook his head slowly. No, Zan. Our intelligence was accurate. We knew exactly what the humans were capable of, based on what they showed us. We just never considered that they might be hiding their true capabilities. The next 12 hours would prove crucial for both species. The Hegemony Council would debate whether to accept the human terms or escalate to total war. Meanwhile, humanity would discover whether their gamble had paid off, or whether they had just started a conflict that would consume the entire galaxy. But in that moment, as Admiral Korath watched his mighty fleet being systematically defeated by an enemy he had completely underestimated, one thing was clear. Humanity had announced its arrival on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. The species that everyone had dismissed as primitive and predictable had just executed the most sophisticated military operation in recorded history. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.